Welcome to this training module on time management. We'll look at the difficulties, the challenges of managing your time within the legal aid environment. We'll look at some of the most common problems to emerge, and we'll look at some of the strategies to counter them. Let's look first at the difficulties or the challenges you're likely to face. And the first of these is the number of live matters you're likely to have on the go at any one time. One of the particular features of legal aid practice is that most practitioners will have a fairly extensive range of cases they're having to deal with at any one time. And it's quite possibly the case that any one of those cases has the potential to suddenly become urgent, unexpected developments on the matter. In family law, perhaps it's some sort of altercation between the parties, some unexpected developments with the children. You have to respond pretty much immediately. I think one of the other more obvious problems is the links between management and fee-earning work. Very easy to take the view that the two subjects really pull you in different directions. Fee-earning work of its nature is always urgent at some stage or another. There are time limits, there are deadlines which have to be met. So fee-earning work of its nature tends always to be short-term. On the other hand, management by and large can wait. Your management responsibilities might be departmental management generally, perhaps business planning, marketing planning, office maintenance, perhaps dealings with the legal aid agency or file reviews. But whatever the nature of the management responsibilities you've got, often it will be the case that they can wait. And so it's a fairly common situation for people to find that the management that they'd meant to do earlier in the week, earlier in the month, has been set to one side because of the nature of the more demanding nature of the fee-earning work they've also got on the go at any one time. Time, of course, is a fairly unforgiving concept to work with. Firstly, most obviously, you can't buy extra supplies of time. You've got 24 hours in the day, and how well you use that 24 hours is part of the challenge. Also, I suppose most obviously, time can't be stopped. The wasted morning, unfortunately, is a wasted morning. It's going to have severe repercussions for the afternoon that you're now facing. Who suffers from poor time management? Well, potentially, I suppose, everyone involved in the process. The clients most obviously tend to suffer. You will not be able to get round to meeting all of the demands on your time in terms of fee-earning work that you would ideally want to do. Colleagues are likely to suffer. If you are involved in something that's rather a sort of chaotic routine, if you're not doing things as efficiently as you should do, then inevitably that's going to have consequences for the people that work with you, the people that work for you. And perhaps again, it's you that is fairly obviously going to suffer as well. If your time management is poor, it's likely to be stressful for you. It's likely that you will have to work longer hours simply to keep up with all of the demands on your time and attention. And very commonly, lawyers will say that they want to improve their time management to reduce the stress levels they otherwise complain of, and also to make sure that working hours are kept within sensible control. So potentially, everybody suffers from poor time management. Therefore, the converse, trying to be more positive about things, is people will all benefit from better time management to the extent that it can be changed. Efficiency measures how well we get through the various tasks we have to do as the day progresses. How effective we are is ultimately how we're judged. And it must be the case that the more efficient you are within your working routine, the more effective you're likely to be within your role as a manager within your practice, as a legal advisor to your clients as well. A relatively minor improvement in efficiency can have disproportionate benefits for your overall effectiveness. The more efficient you are, the better the ability you have to delegate to others, because delegation takes time. If you can make time through being more efficient in your routine, you're then better able to delegate work to others, and that's bound to have an overall impact on your overall effectiveness. Well, let's look now at the worst time wasters. What is it that's going to set you off your routine that you had in mind for the day? The first and perhaps most obvious of these is change priorities. As the day progresses, there are different demands on your time. Those might be demands that you can resource within the office. There may be demands that you have to respond to that take you out of the office through the duty solicitor scheme, perhaps most obviously. Whatever you plan for the day, those plans now have to be adjusted as you respond to developments. Within the office and without, I suppose, outside of the office as well, also now increasingly, phone calls can come in at any stage. Depending on your work type, telephone calls might be quite a frequent occurrence, they could be relatively infrequent. Emails as well will come in through the course of the day, but the nature of emails as they come in is that they can be quite a distraction. And then finally, colleague interruptions. Colleagues needing to see you on work-related matters, colleagues needing to see you just to talk through developments, colleagues just wanting to have a word with you. You're busily working through some task which requires a good deal of concentration. Perhaps if you're supervisor, a more junior colleague coming in, needing to consult you as supervisor, needing guidance on what to do next, is again something that works against your ability to manage your time as you would wish. And I suppose we could add to that fatigue. You are not a machine. You have to get through all of the tasks of the day. Clearly fatigue can have a big bearing on how productive you are, particularly perhaps as the day progresses. The first step I would say to better time management is to set yourself goals that you commit yourselves to. Those could be quite personal goals. It could be to make sure you leave the office by 5:30 every evening and to avoid evening work. It could be to make sure that there's a backlog of no longer than X days, whatever it may be, between doing work and it actually leaving the office. So avoid typing delays, secretarial delays. It could be to make sure that you never do any work at the weekend, recognising the need to get a good balance between the stresses and the pressures of your working life as opposed to the various demands you're likely to be under within your personal life as well. So whatever it is to you, whatever it is that's important to you, it is a good idea to set yourself goals as a focus for the improved time management that with a bit of luck will then follow. Although there are many demands on your time, to the extent that you can plan your day, it's wise to do so. It's better to have a plan in place and then amend that plan as the day progresses rather than have no plan at all. In particular, prioritise. Know what things you've got to do on any given day and make sure that whenever you're able to revert to those tasks, those are the tasks you're going back to rather than perhaps less important issues which can wait for another day. There are those people who plan their day in great detail. This is probably something that's not going to be helpful. There are so many demands on your time, there are so many interruptions, change priorities, that the perfectly planned day is almost certainly not going to happen. On the other hand, one technique, which I've come across with many lawyers, is to say, well, whatever happens as the day progresses, I must do A, B and C. Whenever I've got free time, I'm going back to A, B and C, and my commitment to myself is not to leave the office until A, B and C have been dealt with. The other suggestion that we always make is to be absolutely clear in your mind when you're acting as a fee earner, which you will no doubt need to do, when you're acting as a supervisor in particular. As a supervisor, you can very easily get into the problem of really failing on both fronts at any given time. While you're doing your fee earning work, you're not a very good supervisor. While you're doing your supervisory work, your fee earning work is suffering. And I think to overcome the stress of that, it's a good idea to say, right, I've got 2 hours in the office this morning. I am going to deal with the fee earning work that's on my desk at the moment. Other management supervisory responsibilities can come later on. Of course, if somebody comes in to see you with something that's absolutely urgent, you need to address it there and then. But when the interruption is not urgent, I'd always say, don't be guilty about saying to somebody, I need to get on with this fee earning work. I'll see you in an hour's time, in 2 hours' time, and we'll deal with whatever the request is at that stage rather than now. Similar thinking, don't take an email, don't take a phone call unless it suits you to do so at the time. There is, of course, quite a sort of consideration here which says if the phone call comes in from a client, in an ideal world it's better to take the phone call there and then because the phone call is then dealt with. But if that phone call would be too disruptive to your routine, then it may well be preferable to log the call, to respond later on, and generally if a caller can be told, very sorry, not available at the moment, either by you or by one of your colleagues in the office, very sorry, not available at the moment, but we'll call you back sometime after 12 o'clock. Is that okay? What number are you on? Generally, that can be a better way to address all of the responsibilities you've got rather than responding to a phone call that perhaps is rather disruptive to your routine. Likewise, emails are quite a distraction. If you get distracted by every email as it comes in, your day is likely to become quite disorganized. Not a bad technique is to look at emails in batches. Look into your inbox when suits you to sort them out, perhaps every hour, perhaps every half hour, perhaps between longer, more demanding tasks that you've got to address in any event, rather than responding to each email the moment that it comes in. Manage your clients as well. One of the perhaps most difficult issues of legal aid practice is managing clients. Clients obviously sometimes can be very demanding and perhaps sometimes disorganised in their own routine. What do you do if you've set an appointment time for a client, they don't turn up, but they do turn up an hour later? Do you see the client at that time that they do actually come in, even though that's now very disruptive to you? Or do you perhaps require the client to rebook? The difficult consideration here is that if you give the clients the impression they can be seen whenever they come into the office, regardless of whether they have an appointment or not, you perhaps become a bit of a hostage to fortune in that respect. There are some firms that have introduced more the concept of surgery times, so client appointments in certain areas where it's very difficult to plan around a routine of clients will be told that the lawyer is available between certain times, meaning that the lawyer then can have free time in the office to get on with the actual legal work they need to get on with without the risk of client interruptions. That's perhaps an extreme step and a very unusual one, but where there is a problem of clients routinely not meeting appointment times, it's something that's perhaps worth considering. Think also about your own personal routine. For criminal lawyers, this is particularly difficult, of course, because most of your work is perhaps likely to be away from the office. But if you're in a more office-based routine, then what would you want to be doing in the morning? What would you want to be doing in the afternoon? When's the best time for you to see clients? Many people would say the afternoons are preferable. The morning then means you can get on with processing the work that needs to be dealt with. The afternoons are then perhaps a little bit better for talking to people, slightly more relaxed, knowing that the work that has to be processed is now underway or has gone off to clients already. By adopting time management techniques, it should be possible to improve your routine. It should be possible to improve your effectiveness. Don't keep talking about how difficult time management is. Think what you can do in your area of work to improve your routine and make a commitment to make those improvements. And by way of encouragement, remember, small differences can make quite a large difference to your overall effectiveness. Just marginal improvements to your efficiency, be it through planning, prioritising, getting a better control over what you do when, during the working day, do stand the potential to make a big difference to your overall effectiveness in your role, whatever that may be.